Good morning. In today's video, I'll talk of Prime Minister Modi's recent visit to America to meet President Trump and its outcome. Let me start with my conclusion, which is that India is headed towards increasing irrelevance within BRICS. And that will make India irrelevant geopolitically as well. Much as Europe today has become irrelevant in Trump's world. And the evidence of that Europe becoming irrelevant is that by passing Europe, Trump directly spoke with Putin to end the Ukraine war. Now, when you look at Europe, it has technology heft. It comprises of two types of nations. One which are small nations, and the second is nations which are not aware that they are small. And the reason for that is that they do not have a security architecture of their own. They do not have military deterrence of their own, and they do not have war fighting capabilities of their own, something that they should have been working on since 2010, when President Obama ordered the pivot to Asia, a clear indication that China had become a competitor of America and the world was moving towards multipolarity. Now, if I digress to India, India does not have any of the things. India does not, let alone have a security architecture, does not even understand what it comprises of. It lacks military deterrence and it does not have war fighting capabilities against China. And in addition to that, it does not even have technology heft. So, what India lacks against China, which it should have, is similar to what Europe lacks against Russia, which it has not bothered to have. Now, the second thing that comes out of Trump directly talking with Putin is that in Trump's thinking, there are three great powers. The first acknowledgement by an American president. And the three great powers are America, China, and Russia. As I have said earlier also, a great power by definition is a country which has a capability to influence events anywhere in the world. And it is these three great powers which will eventually bring stability to the multipolar world that we are in today. Now, as far as Trump is concerned, he has a plan. He has a plan of, in this triangular relationship, how to make America great again. That means make America once again the sole power in the world. And his plan is, which has been hinted at by his special envoy to Russia and Ukraine, General Keith Kellogg. At the recent Munich Security Conference, he said that there is the axis of China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran that needs to be broken. So the plan is very simple: how to split Russia from China, because they are two great powers. And a hint again has been given by the Secretary of State Marco Rubio after the recent talks that have happened between the delegations of America and Russia in Saudi Arabia on how to end the Ukraine war, when he said that once the Ukraine war is over, then the sanctions which have been put on Russia, they'll need to be lifted. The whole idea is to wean away Russia from China. And the other part of the plan is, unlike the Biden administration, which was focusing, as far as China is concerned, on an intense security competition in Indo-Pacific, the Trump administration is looking at building deterrence, building military capabilities, not so much on the security competition. And this they hope to do in four parts. One is that they are simultaneous parts. They are looking at building bilateral deterrence between America, so the American military power, which they feel relatively has gone down vis-a-vis the PLA, that needs to be built up again. Then they are looking at regional deterrence. This is where the Trump administration officials, they are now talking with with their allies, which is that they are focusing now on AUKUS, they are focusing on US, Japan and South Korea, and US, Japan and Philippines. Now, India, as far as it's concerned, India is not an ally of America. India is a strategic partner, but it is a de facto ally because since 2020, when the Galwan killings happened against China, India has signed so many military agreements with America that de facto today it is an ally because it is part of the Indo-Pacific Defense Network today. Now, and the third part of their building the deterrence, building the capabilities against China is to have strategic communications that Trump should be able to directly speak with Xi Jinping. And the fourth is military to military communication. Now, this is in addition to the tariff, the tech war, which will continue. Now, at what intensity it will continue, we have to wait and see because Chinese are prepared for that this time, unlike the first administration of President Trump. Now, so as I said that they are making an effort. Kellogg said an effort is being made how to split this. He didn't say it explicitly. He hinted, as I said, how to wean away Russia from China, but this will not happen. This will not happen because President Trump and perhaps his administration still do not understand the relevance of BRICS. They do not understand that BRICS today is a vibrant organization and it underpins a global security model which will bring stability to the world. As far as the other organizations are concerned, like G7, G20, and even the Global North, Trump has rendered them completely irrelevant. You can make out. He is only focusing on the three great powers. That's it. Now, so what is not understood is that actually there are three today. Amongst these three great powers, there are two global governance models. There was one model which was led by America, which had Global North, which was about balance of power politics, which was about zero-sum security, and which made the rules, the American rules, completely bypassing the United Nations. Now that is something which he has trashed. Trump has trashed that. And India was part of that, or India aspired to be part of that, which was Global North. Now this is 20% of the world population. Now the other side, the other model is where the 80% of the population is, and that is the Global South. And this is supported by two great powers, which is China and Russia. They have an entirely different thinking where all nations, big and small, they are being considered equal, where there is mutual respect, where they talk of United Nations rules and orders working under the United Nations. So as far as this is concerned, this is very much flourishing. And when we look at the multipolar world and these two global governance model, what we can see is that if you consider multipolar world, that means there are a lot of poles in the world. And if you consider the balance of power theory, this is about having the second Cold War that the Americans keep talking about. A stability will never come. It can never come in a system where there are too many poles. But if you consider the other system, which is where the Global South is gravitating, which I said is supported by China and Russia, if you treat all the countries as equal, which you say that everybody has a right to development, everybody has a right to prosperity, then in a multipolar world you can have stability, because stability is about development and prosperity. Now, there is a narrative or a propaganda which had been going on, unleashed by America and dutifully followed by India, that the Chinese economy has taken a nosedive, it is in bad shape. The problem is that this is not the truth. The truth is what Wang Yi gave out recently in his speech at the Munich Security Council, the conference, and that is he said that China has grown at 5% of the GDP, and even at this it was contributing 30% to the world economy. Now I don't want to dwell upon this, but just to say that this is all propaganda. China remains, as far as economy is concerned, manufacturing is concerned, it remains a leader. Now Against this background, now let's look at Modi's visit to America. Once again, there is a background to Modi's visit to America, which Trump and his administration were fully aware of, which is the repeated visit of India's External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar to America. Back to back, he went 2 times. Once it was clear that Trump will be the president, he went in December, where we were told that he had gone to meet up with the new team. He met up with the NSA, Michael Waltz, and then again he went as a special envoy of the Prime Minister for the inauguration of Trump on 20th of January this year, where he met up with the Secretary of State Marco Rubio. And after that, very happy with all the meetings that he had had, Jai Shankar went to the Indian embassy in America, met the press, and gave out the message that he was carrying of Prime Minister Modi for the new administration. And the message was that India wants the bilateral relationship to go to a higher level. India is looking for bolder, bigger, and more ambitious steps. India is willing to collaborate in all the domains with America. Now, America hasn't asked for it yet. The world didn't even know what the Trump administration would do. But India offered its strategic loyalty. Now, when you do that, there's nothing much left. When the Prime Minister goes, which he went on the 13th of March, he met up with Prime Minister met with Trump. So you see, it was very clear to Trump that he could talk with a lot of disdain, that he could rubbish the very fact that India is a country of 1.4 billion, and the fact that India is offering help which was unnecessary without getting anything in return to a country which is not even a sole superpower, which is 12,000 kilometers away, considering that India today is at the heart of where the global geopolitics is being played out, which is Asia Pacific region. Now, which is why all these things happened and they had to be ignored by the Modi government, which is when Prime Minister was there already, Trump saying that India is the biggest tariff abuser. Then we saw those visuals of Indians being handcuffed, and they tied also, the legs also tied. This is the way illegal immigrants, I mean illegal all right, but the way they were brought in India. But this is on which people have written a lot. The point to make here is that Trump knew that he could roughshod over India, and which is precisely what he did. Now, let me now talk about the outcome, 4 big chunks that have come out of that. A very longish joint statement, America-India joint statement. The 4 things are: first is trade. As far as Trump is concerned, he has spoken about reciprocal tariff on trade with India, which means that the preferential treatment that India got as a developing country under the WTO is all out of the window. Rules of WTO are all out of the window. India has accepted all this. India has accepted because India wants to dilute the $45 billion trade deficit which is there in India's favor, and it has also accepted the target of $500 billion trade by 2030 with America. In 2023, the bilateral trade is at 190 billion. So what we are looking at is in the next 5 years, we'll be flooded with American goods. So what we will be looking at, high inflation here, the value of the rupee going down. All this will happen because India has accepted the reciprocal tariff. India has also accepted that within BRICS, of which it is a founder member, it will only trade in US dollars. I'll just come to that in a while. So trade is one part. An unequal relationship in trade has been accepted. Second is energy. Now today, as far as Trump is concerned, he says we want to give more oil, we want to give more gas, we want to sell to India. Now as far as India is concerned, regarding crude oil, India Today, these are the countries from where India gets the crude oil. 40% of the crude oil comes from Russia. Then the second on the list is Iraq, then is Saudi Arabia, UAE, and America is the fifth one on the Indian list. Now, so we have to reverse this. That means the crude oil will come from there, and of course, we have the refineries here in India, but it will be more expensive now. Not only that, the Modi government has removed the liability clause which was there on the nuclear reactor. Please recall that Civil Nuclear Agreement 123, which was signed between America and India. So they have been, so now Trump wants that India should buy more small modular nuclear reactors from America. Whereas a lot of our reactors, they are coming from France and they are coming from Russia. Now, top of the list, if you see the joint statement, is defense. There is a 10 years defense partnership, the roadmap which is being prepared or has been prepared. And the key thing here is openly Trump has said that India needs to buy defense equipment from America billions of dollars, which should eventually lead to India buying the F-35 as well. So what we are buying from there is Javelin. I mean, they are talking of co-production, but nobody is gonna give. The Americans will never give their source codes. It will be more like assembling the things here. So Javelin is very much there. Then Striker combat vehicles are there. Then we are getting the 404 and the 414 engines. I mean, the problem recently was there at the Aero India. We saw where the Indian Air Force chief is very upset. HAL has not been able to meet the deadlines of the LCA because 404 engines which were committed to by the Biden administration, they have still not come. Then India has to buy 6 additional P-8I aircraft. Again, it's a requirement of the Americans, not of the Indians. And F-35 is very much there on the cards. So all this talk that is going on that the proposal hasn't come, I disbelieve all that. So we will see that as far as Atmanirbharta is concerned, the Make in India, whatever it was worth, now it will be completely shut because we will be getting all this stuff and it has more implications. I'll just come to in a while. Now, so next we look at is the new emerging technologies. Everything will come from America. We are looking at artificial intelligence architectures, which is the data centers will come from there. Then there is collaboration in quantum and so on. And already the two countries have signed what is called the Autonomous System Industrial Alliance, which is basically to scale up the production of these small emerging technologies like drone, which is required by America for the Indo-Pacific against China. So the long and short is, and not only this, why the Prime Minister had to meet with Elon Musk is still a mystery. I mean, one of the officials or ministers who were there, they could have met Elon Musk, but as a consequence of that, already there is news that Elon Musk or Tesla, now they are opening their production line both in Delhi as well as in Mumbai. And then there is Meta. Meta has made it already clear that the subsea cables, new subsea cables, some 50,000 kilometers, which will connect 5 continents, India especially in our continent, they will be laid. What is the idea? The idea is that there is a bifurcation of trade, there is a bifurcation of commerce, there is a bifurcation of industry, and there is a bifurcation of technology. All this is happening now. And as a consequence of this, what will happen? What will happen is that we are getting removed from our traditional time-tested partner, which is Russia. Russia supplies us with, fulfills our energy needs. It is the one which has installed the nuclear energy also for us. Then we are heavily dependent on defense equipment, the technology transfer on Russia. In fact, I may go to the extent of even saying BrahMos, which is being said as a great project, joint project between the two countries. Please remember, I don't want to speak much on this issue, but the fact of the matter is that BrahMos is a technology of the 70s. And whatever is happening on BrahMos, a lot of this is coming from Russia. And when you talk of a 3 Mach, I mean 3 Mach is nothing much. When you today talk of hypersonic missiles, they are talking of 10 and upwards. 5 Machs, 10 Machs, and this is what we are talking of. But so be it. So the point is that already, as far as Marco Rubio is concerned, the Secretary of State, when he was the Senator of Florida, as a senator in July 2024, he had moved a bill which was to be called the US-India Defense Cooperation Act. And a very clear thing under that was that Casca, which is being used on India, will now be done in a limited way. Casca is countering America's adversary through Sanctions Act, basically to take India away from the Russian equipment. Now, when you take India, when India has so much gone with the Russians, with Trump's America, then what we are looking at is we cannot be having normal relations with Russia when all these things get severed. The energy, as I said, the defense, military technology cooperation, BrahMos will be affected, everything will be affected. Now, and I'm not even sure if F-35 is an aircraft that the Indian Air Force would want to have another new aircraft with a new production line and new maintenance logistic channels. But so what we are looking at is if our relations with Russia, if the Americans are able to wean us away from Russia in critical areas, then what happens is our standing within BRICS, it also becomes difficult. Because it is Russia which is, though India has been a founding member, but it was originally the idea of the Russians. Please recall, it was their foreign minister Primakov who first thought in the 90s about having these three countries, which is India, China and Russia, to be a weight against the West. The geopolitics was thought by the Russians. So if we as a founding member, we say that we do not want to do trade in anything except dollar, which is what the India perhaps has already committed to President Trump, then it becomes very difficult, because one of the key objectives of BRICS is not to replace but to displace the dollar and the dollar-based system. Then next what we are looking at is more grey zone operations by China against India. That is what we'll be looking at, and all this will happen this year itself. 2025 will be a very important year for India, a crucial year for India. Because China need not go to war with India, it's not required. They have such expansive capabilities in grey zone operations that India simply doesn't understand all that. For example, I was there 3 days at Aero India. I did not see a single stall that was talking about cyber capabilities or talking about electromagnetic spectrum. We are simply oblivious, because if you see the joint statement that India has signed with America, we have actually asked them to help us in all these domains. The domains of cyber, the domain of space, this is where the undersea domain, this is where Americans will help us. And how much, what sort of technology they'll give us, we have to just see the track record of our bilateral relationship. Now, why is India doing this? Unequal partnership is the point. It is an unequal partnership. Please do not go by what the traditional or the media tells you about this visit of Prime Minister Modi. It is hugely in favor of Trump. India really gets nothing much out of this, because if we are removed from BRICS, if we have more problems with China, it doesn't help India's case. India remains in a volatile and a very unstable environment neighborhood. Not only that, you see, when a question was asked in the press conference between Modi and Trump, Trump made it very clear that the deep state of America has nothing to do with Bangladesh, what has happened in Bangladesh. In other words, he has now washed its hands off supporting India in South Asia. So that is also gone. So we are basically, we will have difficulty in being in BRICS. We will have no support from America and South Asia. And as I said, there will be a bifurcation of technology, trade and commerce. Now, all this has happened because of the belief of the External Affairs Minister, which he has penned down on page 111 of his book, Why Bharat Matters. And that key line is that the US is undeniably the premier power of our times and will remain so. Now, this is not true at all. If it was the premium power of the world today, what was the need for Trump to get into this triangular thing? Now, so, and he also says that I have my 40 years experience of working with America. The problem is that the last 15 years America changed, but Jay Shankar's thinking has not changed. And as far as the Prime Minister himself is concerned, we know that the biggest diaspora in America are the people who favor the Modi ideology or the RSS ideology. So America is important for the Prime Minister. Now, what surprises me is when all this will not benefit the poor people of this country, and we have 80 crore, which is 800 million poor people. Why is it that our political parties, the opposition parties, they don't talk about this? I mean, why is it that in the main party, the opposition party, Congress, there are leaders who are actually praising what Modi visit has accomplished? I mean, obviously they don't understand geopolitics. I mean, it's about time that Congress party, which is the largest representative party in the alliance, they sat down and they understood the geopolitics and its implications. Thank you so much.